Implementation Plan and Sustaining Behavior in Marketing. Discussants: Maria Crisalin Sibayan, Dean Carlos Tapanco, Stella Hontilano, Lyra Hernandez Artajos. Influencing opinion and changing behavior is important in social marketing and management. The key to success often lies in how you influence people's behavior, whether your goal is to increase sustainability, improve public health, or create a safer and happier community. Social marketing seeks to influence and change behavior to benefit the target audience and society at large. However, the implementation stage is the biggest challenges in social marketing planning. Great plans have been developed, but due to poor execution, the desired results have not been achieved. So what is an implementation plan? An implementation plan is a process that turns marketing strategies and plans into marketing actions in order to accomplish strategic marketing objectives. It is doing the things right just as important as doing the right things. To put it simply, implementation is the act of executing a plan, decision, or method. It is the documented steps you need to take to successfully achieve your implementation pursuits. The following are the key components that drive a successful implementation plan. First, define goals and objectives. Start with defining the goals and objectives of the implementation plan. What do you want to accomplish? What is the project scope? Why are these goals important? And how do these goals fit into the overall organizational vision and mission? Next, schedule milestones. While tasks and deadlines will be formally set in the execution plan, it's a good idea to outline schedule in the implementation phase. Schedules help track, communicate, and keep an eye on the progress of the project, keeping all stakeholders in the loop with what's going on. Third, allocate resources. One of the core purposes of an implementation plan is to ensure that you have adequate resources. It includes time, money, and even the workforce. So gather the data and information needed to determine whether or not you have sufficient resources and decide how to procure what's missing. One of the main purposes of an implementation plan is to make sure that your team has access to enough resources in order to execute the plan effectively and without any hiccups. Make sure you know exactly what you need, how much you already have, and how you will procure what's needed. Next, designate team member responsibilities. Assign roles. This doesn't necessarily mean to define who will execute each individual task, but create a general team plan with overall roles that each marketing member will play. The clearer you define these responsibilities, the easier it will be to keep people accountable. Next is define metrics for success. How will you determine whether or not you are successful? What data will you use to measure your results? And how will you accrue the necessary data? Every implementation plan must identify key performance indicators to establish how it will measure success and failure. This also allows you to measure progress and celebrate milestones to keep the team excited. Next, define how you will adapt. Make a plan for how you will adapt, if necessary, to changes in your plan. Be sure to consider factors outside your control that could significantly alter the schedule or success of the project, and create emergent strategies ahead of time so you don't get derailed down the road. Doing so helps build a culture of flexibility, agility, and even fast action. Next, evaluate success. In addition to defining your metrics for success, decide how often you will evaluate your progress. Example is the quarterly reviews, semi-annual, or even the annual meeting. And last component is the contingency plan. Planning for changes is as important as planning for success. Make a plan for how your team will navigate rough waters in case you get over budget, don't have enough resources, or are approaching deadlines. This way, you won't get off track when challenges arise and you will be able to steer clear of them easily. The marketing and implementation plan can be fueled by defining and documenting the following. First, the SMART marketing goals. These are the goals that should be specific, measurable, aspirational, realistic, and time-bound. SWOT analysis. Understand the company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The target audience. These target audience are formed from different groups, for example, the adults, teens, preschoolers, men or women. To market to any given audience effectively, it is essential to be familiar to them. Next, marketing channels, tactics, and metrics. Define where you'll show up as a brand, tactics you'll use to do so, and the marketing metrics to measure your performance on the different marketing channels. Marketing budget, how much the company can invest, most especially in the marketing activity of the company. Brand positioning and voice. This is the personality, emotion, and the promise behind your company. Next, project brainstorming, planning, and management. These are strategies to make your results happen based on a marketing timeline that aligns with the seasons of the business. And lastly, the analytics. These are the ways you can track the different activities of the marketing department. The implementation plan puts organizational resources to use and develops a tactical plan to execute the strategic initiative. So here are some of the many benefits of the implementation plan. First, it provides clarity. Writing an implementation plan gives you better clarity of thought and it provides the own understanding of the project. When you are focused to think things through, you are better able to document as well as communicate the plans to team members, upper management, and get everyone on board. Next, it keeps everyone on track. The implementation plan lays down exactly what task needs to be done, how to do them, who needs to do them, and keeping everyone on board and removing any sort of confusion or doubtfulness. When everyone knows what their roles and responsibilities are, it is easier to stay on track and keep everyone accountable. Third, it improves cooperation. Working on projects requires the cooperation and collaboration of many employees. The better the cooperation among the team members, the better the synergy and the overall execution. By creating and communicating your implementation plan, you can not only assign responsibilities to team members, but you can also educate them about how their work affects the work of their peers and how it all fits in the broader organizational vision. And last, it increases buy-in. When you have a solid implementation plan that is well researched, documented, and presented, you ensure buy-in from all key stakeholders of your organization. When upper management is on board, it's easier to get resources allocated to the project and it ensures smooth project execution. Thank you for listening. This is Maria Crisaline P. Sibayan. Let's now proceed to the second part of our report, which will be discussed by Mr. Dean Carlos Tapanco.
Blessed day everyone, I'm Dean Carlos Tapanco. I'm going to discuss implementation planning best practices. The first implementation planning best practices is create a designated implementation team. An implementation team is the team responsible for ensuring successful implementation of a particular initiative. While it's possible to move through implementation without creating a specific, organized body to oversee the processes, doing so heightens your chances of success. Next one is create a shared vision among all team members. Establish why you are making marketing strategic changes so that team members have both a greater understanding of the root cause and a deeper connection to their work. Ensure individual compliance so people don't feel like their voices went unheard. Next one is choose a strong team leader. The marketing team leader should coach and educate team members along the way and seek out guidance from past implementation plan leaders to improve upon existing implementation processes within the organization. Next one is define actionable goals. Stay specific, define current issues, and identify root causes. Methods for defining current marketing problems include brainstorming, surveys, and new member information forms. Next one is create an action-oriented plan. Regardless of the size or predicted duration of your goals, create a plan focused on incremental action rather than on continual planning. Small steps add up, so stay positive and focus on the future. Another one is value communication. The team leader should not only value others' input but also make active participation and expectation. Open, honest communication keeps processes transparent and helps generate new ideas. Next one is continually monitor incremental success. Perform analysis and hold regular progress meetings to analyze your development. Closely monitoring your progress enables you to make adjustments before crisis hits and allows you to adapt before processes or expectations become solidified. Additionally, treating incremental milestones as successes helps foster a culture where employees feel valued for their contributions. Next one is involve the correct people at the correct times. This includes defining when and why it is appropriate to involve upper management. As McKenzie says, include the critical stakeholders that are part of the project. The beginning of planning should only include the decision makers and not every team members that is part of the project. Outline the critical tasks that are needed first. Once the tasks are outlined, dictate the personnel who will be responsible for the tasks. Once you identify the personnel, then bring in the additional resources to find what other tasks are needed to complete the larger tasks. To draft a proper implementation plan, it is imperative to include the critical stakeholders to outline the initiative. And lastly, publicize your plan. While you don't necessarily want every stakeholder's input at all times during implementation planning, you do want to maintain transparency with other teams and management. Make your plan available to higher ups to keep your team accountable down the line. Tools for successful implementation planning. The first tool is Gantt chart. This is an example of a Gantt chart. It is a graphical bar chart that you can use as a project timeline. These are simple bar charts that illustrate and display the complete time span of a project, including details like the start date and finish date of the project, the list of tasks that need to be done, the start date and finish date for each task, who is working on what tasks are dependent on each other, and the progress made in each task. The next tool is the Rapid Results Approach. It is a results-focused learning process aimed at jump-starting major change efforts and enhancing implementation capacity. It tackles large-scale, medium, and long-term change efforts through a series of small-scale, results-producing and momentum-building initiatives. This is the end of my report. Sustaining behavior in marketing will be discussed by Ma'am Estela Ontelano. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Estela Ontilano. I will be discussing sustaining behavior in marketing. Sustainable consumer behavior is a subdiscipline of consumer behavior that studies why and how consumers do or do not incorporate sustainability issues into their consumption behavior. Further, it studies the products that consumers select, how those products are used, and how they are disposed in pursuit of their individual sustainability goals. From a conventional marketing perspective, consumer behavior has focused largely on the purchase stage of the total consumption process. This is because it is the actual point of which a contract is made between the buyer and seller, money is paid, and the ownership of products transfers to the consumer. Yet, from a social environmental perspective, consumer behavior needs to be understood as a whole since the products affects all stages of a consumption process. In other words, sustainable consumer behavior is a behavior that attempts to satisfy present needs while simultaneously benefiting or limiting environmental impact. Sustainable consumer behavior has actions the result that it decreases the adverse environmental impacts as well as decreased utilization of natural resources across the life cycle of the product, behavior, or service. Sustainable consumer behavior include: Number 1, voluntarily reducing or simplifying one's consumption in life. Number 2, choosing product with sustainable sourcing, production, and features. Number 3, conserving water, energy, and product during use. Number 4, utilizing more sustainable modes of product disposal. Shifting consumer to behave sustainably. Traditional marketing promotes an endless quest for satisfying needs and wants and seems to view resources as ever abundant. In contrast, sustainability focus suggests that utilized resources can be renewed by mimicking the circular flows of resources in nature, and it respects the fact that capacity of both resources and the environment are limited. Marketing and environmental science might influence consumption to be more sustainable. Social influence, habit formation, individual self, feelings, and cognition, and tangibility can be used to encourage more sustainable consumer behaviors. The SHIFT framework can help address the attitude-behavior gap that is commonly observed in sustainability contexts. The SHIFT framework. This may include social influence. The first route to influencing sustainable consumer behaviors is social influence. Consumers are often impacted by the presence, behaviors, and expectations of others. Social factors are one of the most influential factors in terms of affecting sustainable consumer behavior change. Under their social influence, there are three different aspects of social influence that can shift consumers to be more sustainable. Number 1, social norms. Number 2, social identities. Number 3, social desirability. Social norms. Social norms or beliefs can have a powerful influence on sustainable consumer behaviors. Social norms marketing is based on the central concept of social norms theory, that people's behavior is influenced by their perceptions of what is normal or typical. For example, if people believe that the majority of their peers smoke, then they are more likely to smoke. Using social norms marketing to inform people that the majority of their peers do not smoke can potentially lead them to avoid smoking. Thus, informing people that the majority of their peers are acting in a positive or healthy way but can create an environment in which people actively strive to imitate what they believe is typical of their peers. Another example, when community organizers themselves installed solar panels on their homes, they were able to recruit 62.8% more residents to do the same. Social identities. Social identity as a person's sense of who they are based on their group membership. Groups which people belong to were an important source of pride and self-esteem. Groups give us a sense of social identity, a sense of belonging to the social world. The impact of social influence depends on people's social identities or sense of identity stemming from group memberships. For example, consumers are more likely to engage in sustainable actions if in-group members are doing so. A company's social identity derives from its relations, connections, and perceptions embedded into the minds of its stakeholders and observers. This takes place through branding and marketing efforts as well as through public relations departments, social media channels, and the company's own products and services. A company's brand image is also part of its social identity and is increasingly managed in part on the internet through social media channels such as Twitter and Instagram, as well as through traditional forms of media and public relations channel. Example, Apple. It portrayed its social identity in contrast to the larger and more successful Microsoft. Important. Once a company's social identity is negatively impacted, it is very hard to bring back into a positive light. It is for this reason and the effect it has on the bottom line that a company must always safeguard its social identity. Social desirability is the tendency for individuals to portray themselves in a generally favorable fashion. Consumers tend to select sustainable options to make a positive impression on others, and they endorse high-involvement sustainable options, for example, hybrid vehicles, to convey social status to others. People are prone to respond in ways that make them look more socially acceptable. They are influenced by a need for social approval, or they simply want to facilitate smooth interactions with the public and quickly move on without much mental effort. Habit formation. Habits refer to behaviors that persist because they have become relatively automatic over time as a result of regularly encountered contextual cues. Because many people's habits are unsustainable, habit change is a critical component of sustainable behavior change. Many behaviors with sustainability implications, such as food consumption, choice of transportation, energy and resource use, shopping and disposing of products, are strongly habitual. This is the end of my report. The continuation of the report will be discussed by Ma'am Lyra.
Welcome po, I'm Lyra Isher Tajos. I'm here to tackle the remaining SHIP framework. Number 3 is the individual self, which refers how people perceive themselves to be different from others, including their traits, goals, interests, and hobbies. These distinguished features enable individuals to consider themselves as subjective, unique from others. So, the factor linked to the individual self can be powerful influence from the consumption behavior. The concept includes positivity of the self-concept, self-interest, self-consistency, self-efficiency, and individual differences. I'll discuss to you what is the self-concept. Self-concept also relates how consumer wants others to see themselves. It is a self-image of identity made up of the subjective collection of thoughts, perception, and feelings. It includes personality, abilities, and occupation, and the various personal and professional roles of the consumers takes on. What are the buyer's self-conception? So first, how the buyer feels as a person. Second, who or what buyer would like to be. Third, the buyer exposed as he like to be seen by the world. And lastly, the buyer's intentional hidden personality. By this, when the prospect perceive that the product reflect as an aspect of their self-concept, they form an emotional and personal connection. By this, an emotional and personal connection with the product is the foundation of lifetime customer relationship. So, what is self-interest? Based on Adam Smith, it refers to the action that elicit personal benefits. The best example of the self-interest is the invisible hand, which consists first, the society goals will be met as individuals seek their own interests. Second, profit-seeking producers will make more. Third, competitions, low price, high quality, and great efficiency. Fourth, the government. The government doesn't need to get involved because society wants being met. And lastly, competition and self-interest act as an invisible hand that regulates the free market. The concept of the invisible hand was introduced by Smith in 18th century. It refers to the idea that when the parties act or interacts, make decisions based on the self-interest, unintended benefits are produced for society at large. According to some economists, believe that the invisible hand was being the driver of a number of goods and services created for the benefit of both consumer and producers. Fourth is the feelings and cognition. Emotions are all throughout the marketing. They influence information, processing, immediate response to persuasive appeals, measure the effects of marketing stimuli, initiate goal settings, enact goal-directed behaviors, and serve as ends and measures of consumers' welfare. For example, satisfaction. The customer will be happy, joy, glad, delight, or enjoy. This is the tangible. Tangible are defined as aspects of a service that can be felt without actually purchasing the service. Tangible are visible aspects of service that can be employed by the business to improve the external customer satisfaction. Product can be classified as tangible or intangible. A tangible product is physical object that can be perceived by touch, such as building, vehicle, gadget, or more. An intangible product is a product can be only perceived indirectly, such as insurance policy, license of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and everything, JPEG, and even MP3 files. Let's proceed to the 5 principles of sustainable marketing. First, the consumer-oriented marketing. It means that the company or organization view its marketing strategy from the customer point of view. It is more focusing on the customer's need rather than making sale can be increase your profit. When the customer are happy, they keep buying from you. Customer values entails putting most effort and resources into continuously improving the value added to the offering. As the company creates value for the customer in turn creates value for the company. Third, the principle of innovative marketing, which ensures that an organization never stops finding better ways to develop products and services. These are the innovative marketing techniques. First, marketing managers are required endless marketing efforts to increase brand awareness and visibility in such ways. First, word-of-mouth marketing. This is perhaps the Innovative marketing techniques. First, marketing managers are required endless marketing efforts to increase brand awareness and visibility in such ways. Second, word of mouth. The most powerful type of marketing as it is done by the happy and satisfied customers. Third, social media marketing. In the present world, the social platform was democratized both marketing and customer engagements. Fourth, the sense of mission marketing is the principle that guides firms to define the broad mission that speaks to society rather than just the product. Adopting a broad mission gives a company a clear, long-term direction and serves the best long-run interests of consumers and the brand. One of the examples of this is the Dove campaign. The underlying mission of this campaign was to discover real beauty and to help women be happy with the way they are. The advertisement contained the confident and bold women of all types instead of the regular models to echo the message of the normal is the new beauty. And lastly, the societal marketing. The company balances decisions based on the customer wants, the company requirements, and the customer and society's long-term interest. Are the three considerations of societal marketing concept. First, the society or human welfare. Companies must make sure the products, services, action, and investment innovations serve society first. Second, consumers or satisfaction. Products and services should be satisfying the consumer's needs. And lastly, profit. Building long-term customer relationship, being socially responsible, and providing satisfactory products are important for profit making and wealth maximization.